Hey everybody, Startup Survival, and I'm sitting here with my good friend Bladelock, and we're very fortunate to have with us three very high-end knives that a lot of people have talked about and really have a lot of love for, or at least they're curious about them. Maybe you've never had the opportunity to actually handle them or whatever, but they're knives that invite a lot of discussion and controversy. You know, they're knives that probably a lot of us have wondered about, but few of us have handled. And we're very fortunate right now to be able to handle all these different knives. So what we have with us here is the Hinderer XM24, the Reeve Umnumzan, and the Strider something.
SNG and gunner grip.
Yeah, say hello, man.
Yes, very knowledgeable. Yes, hello. How you doing? Yeah, I mean, like you said, they're very popular, at least in terms of discussion. I mean, some people that are fortunate enough to can actually purchase them, and it makes sense for them. I think they're very admired knives, and a lot of people aim to buy them one day if they can afford them to, or if it makes sense for them to actually pay the price per knife and per what you get. But they're definitely you know, well known and well discussed, and yeah.
Oh,
what?
Dude.
You don't have thousands of dollars in your wallet?
No, I thought maybe I had a $20 bill in my wallet, but I don't. All I have is a $10 bill, in which you can't really see. And what a sacrilege to cover up $2,000 worth of knives with, you know, this is like 5%.
Okay.
Is that right?
Maybe.
Yeah, something like that. $2,000. Think about that. That's crazy.
Yeah. Okay. Let's put it like that. You're right. 1,000 here and 1,000 here. Like, what would you do with $2,000? Like, I mean, you would. I don't know. I mean, let's put it this way. A lot of people would do a lot with $2,000, especially if you're talking about outside of our country. Like, if you go to like a challenged country, like $2,000 would be a house or something for some people, you know, or a horse, or, you know, like a plot of land that they can farm. I mean, we're speculating, obviously, but it just goes to say that if you do get one of these knives, you're really making a conscious decision that you're investing in them, not for gain, but you're spending a lot of money to get something that you presumably value a lot.
Absolutely. And I mean, these are knives that they don't even appeal to the 1%. They appeal to 1 in 1,000 or 1 in 10,000 people, if that, 1 in 100,000 in the world. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I don't know how many of these knives have been manufactured and sold, but even within like the knife community, these appeal to 1 in 100 or less for sure.
Yeah. Well, I would say it appeals to a lot more, but not a lot of people will be willing or able to actually purchase them. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people will say, oh yeah, when I get that knife, but I would question if they will ever get it, even though they want to. So I don't know, like, I mean, we do have some talking points we want to discuss a little bit back and forth, because obviously there's a lot of discussion to be had. We're not going to do reviews, because this is my knife. These two are not my knives. I brought them in the startup sort of video project. We have been playing with them for a while now. We gotta have an idea of what they are, where their values, where their strengths and weaknesses are. But we cannot really do reviews over them as much as we can do a Delica or a Cold Steel Lawman or anything like that. So it's just more a general discussion. So where do you want to start? Do you want to talk about? I want to talk about fit and finish, because I think that's where these knives shine. They are amazing at fit and finish. Like, whatever you want to say about them in terms of price, they do have an amazing construction going into them. The Hinderer is both a tough knife and well made. Like, it's you can just feel how well made it is when everything just clicks into place. You can look at all the details and you see how well, you know, built and thought out it is. So this is absolutely worth the money in fit and finish. The Umnumzan is the same. It's absolutely worth the money in fit and finish, even more so I think a little bit than the Hinderer. Like, we just found out there is some vertical blade plate in this, minor, but it's there. So I think the Reeve are the fundamental fit and finish knife that you can get, and it's absolutely true. This guy It looks beautiful. It looks like it will sort of stand up to all the other ones in terms of fit and finish, but let's have some silence. Both ways, always. It's a 4-way blade play.
Yeah.
So obviously the fit and finish is not here. I do know that that is by design to some extent, but fit and finish is not part of a Strider knife. Also, if you look at the pocket clip, you see this? The pocket clip moves. So why did I just spend $400 on a pocket clip that moves around? I don't like that, to be honest. So fit and finish on this guy, no. Maybe toughness, maybe design interest, yes, but no.
It's disturbing for sure. Let me just jump in here, like, because I haven't handled these knives for very long, but one thing that I'll say about the Hinderer is it's like so smooth. I did a hard flick there, but I've done some like soft flicks and it just flies open almost like a Benchmade axis lock. And I love that, where it's just almost no effort. And for such a large blade and a large knife, to just be able to do a soft flick like that and it just comes open, it's definitely, I can honestly say this is pretty much the smoothest knife I've ever felt.
Yeah.
The Reeve, I've handled this before. I have a review on the Amazon. It didn't quite do it for me, but it's very smooth also. I really like it. But this one, I like the looks of it from far away. I think the handle, the tactility of it, it's just such good traction, really everywhere, and it feels great in the hand. You know, like I like it, but just that rattling everywhere is very disturbing. And I think that the handle, as thin as it is, it's super light. The handle feels great, but I think that that's sort of like two sides of a coin. You make it so thin and so light, and then it just can't stand up in terms of durability. That's my thought anyways.
Yeah, I have to say I really like the gunner grip finish, or I don't know if it's a finish or not, but the pattern on the scale, I really love it. I mean, it's very fascinating to me. If the Sebenza had this pattern, I would have already bought it right now. I would have a Sebenza if it had this pattern. As it is right now, the Sebenza is very plain. That's what I would have to say. So I really love the G10 pattern, and I especially love the titanium pattern, where yes, actually, if you look at it on the surface, it's polished. The internal scoops have the original bead blast finish or whatever it is. So it's very fascinating. It's almost like a patina in a way on a carbon steel. They had the same fascination for me. So yeah, this checkering, I don't know. It's just like so old school. I don't understand this. Like how is this innovative? I don't know. It looks like something my grandfather would do. You know. That's all I can say about that. Carbon fiber, yeah, sure, it's beautiful. It's great. Sage 1 has it too. I don't know.
Maybe this like sort of carving out of the titanium, maybe it's working on the same principle as like the spider hole with Spyderco. It's where you remove something from the design and it provides a function by removing it. It's kind of ironic, right?
Yeah, it has some ductility because of it, but I would say this is a win in terms of interest and beauty and the functionality of ductility. This is an absolute win. This specific pattern, this is not. That's just my personal aesthetic reflection on it.
Something else that's interesting, I think, is that the sort of production version of this XM24 is the ZT560, and the handles are this 3D. This is full titanium, I guess, right? But it feels almost like a G10 in its grippiness. But that's
well, this is G10 on this side. This is titanium on this side.
Is that right?
Yeah, this is green. It's very similar in terms of kind of coloring, but this is G10, like G10 and G10 in here, one sort of piece.
So I think if you sort of combine those two handle materials, but use the blade of this, you would have sort of like that ZT knife that everybody really likes. Yeah. You're going to get that 3D sort of nice grippy handle on it.
Yeah, yeah. So let's move on from this point. Fit and finish. These two guys, the Reeve and the Hinderer, absolutely have it. The Strider doesn't have it. If you want the fail-safe lock design for the Strider that the previous generation used to have it, then sure, just go for it. But as it stands, you're gonna have to live with that. And I don't know if you can do that for $400. So that's the fit and finish issue. What do we have next? Like toughness. are all these knives tough? I would say they are overbuilt, and that's not necessarily a compliment, because overbuild is something you do when you don't have a clear mechanical solution. I would say if you want to have a tough knife, go to cold steel in triad lock. And that's all I want to say about that. That is a tough knife because it's mechanically designed to be tough. This is just overbuilt to be tough. You know, that said, I do think they have a good feel for them. There's a good feel, especially the Hinderer. It's got that sort of bank vault that's usually accredited to a Sabanza. But are they tough by design? Do I think the titanium lock bar is tough? No, I don't think it is. Mechanically speaking, not necessarily. It's a good locking system for sure, but I don't think it's tough. Triad lock is tough. I don't know, what are your thoughts on toughness of the knife, not of the blade itself, but the actual mechanics of the knife?
I think toughness and freedom of use go hand in hand, which is sort of like our next talking point. So how tough is it if you're afraid to use it, right? And I've never considered frame locks to be tough. They're generally made of like a malleable material, right? Like titanium can wear over time, like that's one of its attributes. Yeah. So if you're afraid to use it and use it freely and hard, how tough is it really? You know, if we have to baby the knife, is it tough? I don't think so by definition, you know?
Yeah, and I think, I mean, there's something to be said about titanium frame locks. I think it's they're a bit of a drama queen in the sense that there is no other locking mechanism that has so much discussion about them. Oh, look at the wear, this is an early lockup, this is a late lockup, it wears really fast or really slow, it's carbidized, it's hard anodized and all that shit. Like there's so much discussion, I think people just enjoy talking about how fast their lock bar is traveling. Like it's just, I don't know, it's drama queen, that's the best part I can think of. So there is a dimension of NAF that goes into it.
It's perhaps the most elegant lock. I'll say that for it.
It's simplistic, yes, yeah.
I can see why people like it. I think titanium is like a fascinating material, and I like the simplicity of a frame lock. But is it my number one lock? Sorry, far from it. You know, like if I was to choose my locks, I have to say Axis lock is pretty much the top of the heap for me. Because it's so easy to use. Very
playful. That's another topic for the future to discuss, yeah.
I like back locks, I like liner locks, I would put those on par. I like the triad lock because of what it's capable of, you know. I'm comfortable with all of those locks and I like all of them. Frame lock comes after all of those for me.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What I would say in terms of innovation though, that you need to give credit about it and recognize it, is this knife is very well known for wearing very fast. So it has a very bad history for the way it wears for a specific reason, because of the fail-safe sort of design on it. What Reeve has done to counteract the wear and tear on the titanium is he has designed the Unumzan with the ceramic ball detent to also function as a material interface between titanium to steel. So there is no titanium wear on the Unumzan because the titanium doesn't touch the blade type. So you can go look into that a bit more, like we're not going to be able to show it here necessarily, but just go and Google and research that topic, that the ceramic ball is what takes the wear and tear in this knife. Do I like it? I personally don't like it. I don't like complexity in knives. The frame lock is supposed to be a simple, elegant design. You put a ceramic bowl on there, I think it's an amazing idea, but I don't need it and I don't like it necessarily. But you need to give credit for the idea and the thinking behind it, I would have to say. The Hinderer is just, I'm not sure what they do. They probably have some heat treatment of the face right here, like a Sabanza would do for longevity. This is working just fine though. Is that your wife calling? Children? Mother? Father? Is committing suicide?
I said, don't call me tonight, I'm busy, I'll call you tomorrow.
Nice. Just live it on.
To be continued.
Yes, carrying on. Parents are not important right now.
No, family's not important. We got knives. Come on.
Yeah, we got $1,000 knives. So what were we talking about?
I don't know. But if it comes, let me say something, and if it comes back to you, that's great. I was just gonna say about this knife. It looks like so badass. You know what I mean? Like you see this from far away, and it's like, holy moly! Like whoever owns such a knife surely is a badass. You know, like you don't want to mess with them, and they're, you know, legit or whatever you want to call it. There's all these like sort of characteristics that are implied by owning a knife like this. And look at the spine of this knife, like how thick it is. You know what I mean? Like, is this knife designed to be a good cutter? I don't really know. I suspect it's designed to inflate the ego of the owner more than anything else. It's not practical. Like, this is as thick as like a fixed blade or something like that. I don't know how thick this is, but you know, 4 millimeters or whatever. It's crazy. And look at the tip of it. It's like super thick. And I don't know. It's just, it's not a practical knife to me. You know, it's amazing because it is thick and it is light. But I don't know. It's just, it's not tough. You know what I mean? The rattling proves that. You can't baton with it. I mean, let's not pretend that we can.
Well, what the issue is with a lot of these sort of tactical knives in a way is because they're trying to be something they're not. They're trying to be a fixed blade, or they're trying to emulate the strength of a fixed blade. To me, a folding knife is a convenience knife. You carry them because they're smaller, they're easy to carry with a pocket clip. Like, so, you know, on one hand, you go in one direction because you want the convenience of carrying a knife that folds. It's light, it performs well, and then you counterbalance that. You go backwards by trying to make it as heavy and as thick and as tough as a fixed blade, which is what you were trying to get away in the first place. So there's a contradiction when you take a folding knife and you make it, you know, this thick and this strong, presumably, and this heavy. I think you're sort of starting to miss the point.
And that's a heavy knife that you have in your hand right now.
This is the heaviest, the biggest, and the thickest. Like, if I really want a 4-inch blade with this presumed strength and toughness, I'll pick up a fixed blade. I'll pick up an Izula from Essie, or an SE4, or an SE3, or a K-bar. There's a lot of fixed blades that will do this 10 times better at the fraction of the cost. You know, and then people will say, oh, well, you know, it's this is something you can carry in your pocket, or is you're not going to have it when the airplane crashes and you're on a desert island, some shit like that. Like, you can always make an excuse why you need a $1,000 overbuilt knife. So I guess I don't buy into that. And I mean, as beautiful as they are, as perfect as they are in terms of execution, the general idea that you have a folding knife that wants to compete with a fixed blade knife, I don't buy that.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, so I accept some strength, but again, if I want strength in a folding knife, I'll go for a triathlon.
So how free, assuming that you did own these knives, you own the middle one, but like, how free would you feel to use these to do some like dirty tasks, like cutting up cardboard boxes or?
Well,
whatever?
I think eventually you would do it almost out of spite of having spent so much money on them. You would actually do it. Like, I modified my Sage 2, which is a $200 knife, so I don't think I would not use these knives. But the point is relevant, is like, there is a correlation between, or a connection between, how much money you spend on a knife and how free you are to just use it without worrying about it. And usually the less money you spend, the more you can abuse the knife or beat on the knife or just use it without being concerned about it, you know? So you spend $400, $450, $700, $800, you know, close to $1,000 if it's custom or something. It's gonna be harder and harder for you to just use it without feeling guilty, I would think.
I've got a video called Beater Knives, aka Knives That Suck. And they were some of your knives. Sorry.
Yes, thank you.
But you would agree that these knives kind of suck. Like, it's like the Sogzilla.
Yeah.
I know you like your K-bar Dozier, but it's not a knife that excites me personally.
Yeah.
It's a cheapo, right?
Yeah.
And so somebody commented on that video very recently, and they just said, you know, these knives are great. These are the best knives because you can throw them in like a tackle box, or
Yeah.
if it falls off the dock or something, it's gone. That sucks. But you can go to the store and buy another one for a small amount of money, and you could have used them. You can do anything with them, and you have a complete freedom of use, which is the exact opposite of these.
Yeah.
Right?
So that person got the point exactly. Like the reason why you would own an affordable, successful knife, like most Spydercos are, for example, is because you can just use it without being concerned about it. And if you haven't been there, maybe you are super rich, maybe you never experienced the material poverty or poverty in general, but some people have, and some people do feel bad to destroy or potentially, you know, damage something that's very expensive and that they worked very hard to get. So I would say freedom of use is very low on these knives. And I just watched a video very recently by Not Fancy Son, the Tactical Duel. They keep their Sebenza in a box. Nobody uses it because they're afraid to ruin it. So they have it, but they keep it in a box, specifically because very low freedom of use on such an expensive knife.
I'm reminded of Fight Club when they talk about
your possessions end up owning you.
Yeah, the possessions end up possessing you or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's pretty easy to cross that line sometimes, you know. Congratulations, you're able to purchase a very expensive knife, but how free are you now? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay,
moving on.
What's next? Playfulness.
Playfulness. Well, playfulness, it's hard to... they're all the same, I would say, between them, because they're all frame locks. This one is a bit more successful because it's got something close to a spider pulse. I would say it's kind of easy to open it. This one has got a flipper, which is unique to it, between these three knives at least. This one, I don't know, it's got its own thing. So overall, I would say they're not the most playful knives, because you can have a paramilitary too, very playful. You can have Benchmade with access lock, extremely playful. These are middle level, they're middle ground. Like, to talk about the other extreme, the least playful knife you can own is a triad lock. Lock back triad lock.
The least playful is a fixed blade.
Okay, sure.
But in the folding knife world, I agree with you. These are somewhere in between triad and axis lock in terms of playfulness, but I gotta say that like I've handled all these knives and I appreciate them. Like I'm grateful that I get to play with them and stuff, but I'm not super stoked on them, you know, like I'm not gonna like go home and like say, oh man, I'm so stoked about this Strider, I should order one tonight. When I played with an axis lock, that is how I felt. I played with it and I was like, oh my god, I have never owned a Benchmade. I know they're expensive and that kind of pisses me off, frankly, but I had to have one, you know?
Yeah.
And
I would say the axis lock is the most playful mechanism that you can get ever, followed by a paramilitary too. Opposite end, the most trustworthy in terms of toughness is the triad lock, in terms of the strength of the lock not closing on you, and it's also the strongest and toughest, and it's also the least playful, like most lockbacks too. But so the playfulness, like, I mean, would I play with them? Sure. Are they the most playful knives? No. They're middle level.
yeah, they're not bad. But I think that when you combine, like, say that you are somebody who has bought these knives.
Well, I have this one, and it's in a box. I don't play with this. I rarely use it. I mean, I do like it, and I'm proud of it, but it's not very playful. Also, if you look at it, when you have your finger here, you close it, the blade goes on your tongue. That kind of denies some playfulness. You have to be conscious that when you close it, you don't go all the way. You remove your finger and then you close it. But if you just go all the way, you're gonna kind of like, you know, start to cut into your nail. That doesn't, lead you to being playful.
Especially if you actually do cut yourself with it.
Yeah. This guy instead, the finger choil, is what closes on you. So yes, you might sort of hit your nail, but you're not cutting your nail. So this kind of like wins a little bit over that.
What does that say? Something pride.
Ownership, pride of ownership.
Pride of ownership.
Pride of ownership, extremely high.
Well, we don't own them, so well, okay, you own them. Are you proud?
No, that's a different story. No, but if you went to the store, bought it yourself, did months and months of research, worked really hard to save the money for it and all that good stuff, I would think it'd be the most prideful knife you would own ever. You would just love it, and you would show it to your friends, that kind of thing, you know. Like if I use this, or I'm out and I use this, and somebody sees the knife, and they make a comment, oh, that's a dangerous knife, that's a long blade knife, or some shit like that. I'm like, the first thing I'll tell them, dude, do you know how much this costs? It's $450.
Nobody would believe you. They would think you're crazy.
No, then they make fun of you for the rest of your life or something.
Probably.
But I'm saying that because I'm proud of it in terms of how expensive it is. Well, first of all, they don't believe you, and if they do believe you, they think you're crazy. But my first reaction is not, oh yeah, this is dangerous. My first reaction is like, this is very high-end knife. Like, this is collection Mona Lisa level knife. So I would definitely be proud in terms of what you pay for them and what you get and fit and finish. Like, if a cop stops me with this and they say, are you gonna do something bad with it? I'm like, dude, this is like $1,000. Do you think I would like do something stupid with a $1,000 knife? It's like, come on. Am I gonna lose it to a locker evidence or something? Evidence lockers?
For sure. So obviously I've never owned any of these knives, but what I would say is that I have knives that are around the $200 price level. I have two knives in that category, Sage 2 and Osborne 940 Benchmade. And do I value those knives above and beyond everything else that I have? Not really. They have a place in the collection, I would say.
Yeah.
Would I be more choked if I lost those knives than a bird? Yes. But I don't treat them any differently, I guess. You know, they're just members of the family.
Yeah.
And maybe they're special members, but
Okay.
I am proud that I own them, I guess.
Well, then that's a distinction between, are you proud of the knife? And I would say yes, but is it your best EDC knife? That's a different topic, and that's the next topic. Are these EDC knives, and themselves, obviously, yes, you can buy it and carry it, but would this be the most successful EDC knife? Regardless of price, I would say a paramilitary 2 will be more successful as an EDC knife. Something that's lighter, less threatening, easier to use, easier to open. I think any Spyderco is easier to open than this. I mean, I can do it well, but give me a spider hole and I'll be 100 times better than a thumb hole that's, you know, flush against the frame. So are they the best EDC? No, because I have better knives for EDC. Namely, Spydercos come to my mind as being really good EDCs. These are not really good EDCs. For once, they're huge. You will feel this in your pocket, you know? Any of this, you will feel them. You pull them out in public, you know, you're gonna get attention. Again, they're not easy to use to cut up garbage, you know? There are other knives that are better suited to that kind of work. If I was carrying any of this, I would probably have a cheaper knife that I would pull out 5 times more and use 5 times more than this guy's, just because I want to save these knives, both from you know, damage or from looking crazy with a big blade or something like that. So yes, there's people that carry them. You can carry them, no problem. They're not the best EDCs though. That's just to be honest. I mean, in my experience, I don't think this will be a best EDC.
Okay, well this knife is not meant to be an EDC anyways. It's gigantic, it's heavy, you know what I mean? It's tactical, for lack of a better word. So this is not a good EDC knife because it's expensive, it's large, it's heavy.
Yeah.
And it's missing a pocket clip, but that's another story.
We can put it back, yeah.
Yeah. This knife, it's like a medium to large size knife. I think it's nice. I put it in my pocket with that clip, it does carry very well. You know what, I think if you want to carry this knife, it's got a utility blade shape, sort of a drop point. I think it would be a great knife to carry actually, like if you had the freedom of use and whatnot.
Yeah.
Excellent. It's somewhere in between like a Delica and an Hinderer size. This knife, the blade shape is kind of funky on it, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
I don't own any Tantos, and I've probably bought...
But let's go beyond the Tanto, because that's a very specific choice that was made by the buyer. But if we just look at the general, imagine this was a leaf shaped or a drop point or something. What then?
I gotta say this, I think this is probably the lightest of the 3 knives. Mm-hmm. Well, these are pretty similar actually, but this one's considerably heavier. I don't know, I like the handle of this, you know, very much. I like how thin it is. The blade shape we already talked about, but the pocket clip's pretty whacked out, honestly. This looks like one of those like really shitty Kershaw pocket clips that comes on like the Skyline or something.
And it does move side to side, which is what I was sort of been pointing previously. It's like I don't see how this should happen under this at this price point, you know. And maybe you can be like the Emerson knives, where you can say, well, I'm giving you a shitty product because you're not supposed to like it. You're supposed to like use it or something, but not at this price point. Like, you know, I should not be able to move the pocket clip up and down on a $400 knife. So what we're talking about EDC wise, they're EDCable, but you will fill them in your pocket and eventually you will want to serve something a lot lighter, I would think.
I think this one's the best of the bunch though. And
or EDC?
I never thought I would say that, but now that I think about it critically after really looking at them and talking about them, I think I would choose that one. I just think it's the best size, the best weight, the best carry, the best blade shape. You know, the blade steel is pretty good too. I guess it's probably my favorite out of the bunch.
Yeah. What about value now? What do you think about value?
Well, value, it's not even worth discussing, really. I mean,
well, let's just say $400, $450. Let's say this maybe is $700, $800. Value. We're not talking about cheapness or expensiveness. Value is price versus what you get.
I think value is pretty low, to be honest.
You mean when you compare it to a paramilitary or even a Delica? One of my earlier videos, my best preferred knife at that point in time was an Opinel, which is what, $16 knife, and that was like my preferred knife at that point in time. Right now I have something else. So yes, price is high, quality is high too, but the two of them balance out. You pay a lot for getting a lot. There's no value. I don't think there is a value in buying a Ferrari. It's not value, right? Value is like a Honda Civic or something. Like, I mean, you're getting an amazing product, but for an amazing high price. So the value goes out the window.
There's tiers of value, you know what I mean? A Honda is good, and then I don't know what the next thing on top of a Honda is. Like, let's say like a Volkswagen or like a low-end BMW or something, and then from there you can go up to like a Ferrari.
Right, but you don't feel that you got an amazing deal. You feel like I'm paying for what I'm getting, but it's not like I don't feel like I win the lottery. You know what I mean?
I would say the higher the price, the more sophisticated your level of knowledge has to be to perceive that value.
Right.
Because an average person off the street who knows nothing about knives could look at this knife and assume it was bought at like a flea market or something. Like, they don't know anything about it.
Yeah.
You could put that up against like a Delica and they'll choose the Delica for some
So
reason.
you have to be an educated consumer.
Absolutely.
And I think that is a big point. Like, I mean, to me, owning one of these knives, which is, for me, it would not be for daily use. I think that would be, I could be wrong because it's very personal, but I think buying one of these knives for daily use would be quite stupid when you have so many choices to use for daily use, and even stronger knives in the cold steel, all G10 handle. I would buy them as a collector, which is what these knives are part of a collection. But it's kind of like saying, can you appreciate the Mona Lisa? Can you pay $3-5 million for a painting to put in your living room to look at it? If you can do that, which to some people, including myself, is a waste of money because I'm a functionalist. But if you can spend money just to look at something, like a painting, as unique and beautiful as it is, then you can spend money in the same spirit on an expensive knife. Because at the end of the day, this knife, all they do is cut things up like any other knife does. It's better materials, better ergonomics, better this and that. They just cut things up. They don't do anything special other than cutting like an Opinel does.
I've learned in my life not to cheap out on things, you know? If you go cheap, it'll fall apart. it's not worth it.
Yeah.
You'll buy another one very soon afterwards.
Yeah.
I've learned that it's worth it to pay for quality, but I'm not going to overpay for marginal increases in quality. Like, I don't believe that these are any higher quality than a Paramilitary 2. The fit and finish is excellent, or a Sage or something like that, or an Osborne. Fit and finish is great. The materials are great. You know, I mean, the warranty is great. What else do you want? You know, like, why would I pay 5 times more for that? You know, or 3 times more, or whatever.
You know what this makes me think though? Like, I had a moment back at the office where this girl, a coworker, said, I really want to buy this Gucci bag, a Gucci whatever, I don't know, maybe Dolce & Gabbana or Armani or whatever. And I asked her how much? $400. I really, really want it. And she would be like super excited to get it. And part of me felt sorry for her. I felt like, man, you're so intellectually low in this dimension that you will have to buy $400 bag to like be happy. Because I can get a $20 bag from Mac or $40 Mac pack and get everything done with that specific carrying system and be super happy and satisfied. But you need to pay $400 for a designer bag, a custom design bag. And I felt sorry for that person. You know, I mean, I liked her, she was my friend, you know, all good things. But I did have that feeling. Now, I would hate to be on the other side of that, where somebody feels sorry for me because I spent $800 on a knife I could have bought for $100 or $50 or $16.
Yeah, that's a very good point, you know. And let's kind of wrap it up on that thought. I would say, yeah, value is all in the eye of the beholder. I can appreciate these knives. I'm grateful that I got to touch them and handle them and whatnot. Am I motivated to buy them? Not at all. I'm totally happy with my collection the way it is, and I'll probably keep adding to it. But I don't know. It's just one of those things that it's a pleasure to know it exists and to have had experience with it. But that's as far as I'm going to take it.
Yeah, and I want to mention, like, I mean, this is our very critical point of views. I know there are people out there that love these knives, and I totally support that. I know there are people that actually see value and precision and care and whatever you want. Like, they totally appreciate these knives, and I have nothing against that. I'm only talking about my specific views. Like, if you're listening to this view, I assume you want to know what startup thinks about something and what I think about something. Like, you're getting a personal opinion. That's my opinion. As a functionalist, as a person that wants to get things done one way or another, that's my opinion. And I'm not bashing or trying to bash anybody that owns these knives, or that they enjoy them, or that they want to spend this much money on them. I just feel I'm in a different place. Maybe in 5 years I will own these knives or something similar. Maybe I will, I don't know. But right now I can say these are better left for somebody else. I am more than happy with a Spyderco or a cold steel knife for what I do. And that's all I need to say, I guess.
Yep. All the power to you, collectors. You know, I've bought things in my life that some people would probably consider to be ridiculous or be critical of, and it's really easy to criticize. But the bottom line is, if you're able to afford it, spend your money freely. You know, you're not hurting anyone, and you deserve to enjoy the money you've earned from whatever it is you do, right? Okay, let's call that a wrap, and thanks for watching.